want to go ahead and focus on pulling out this trim bezel right here. To start with that, we're just going to use our plastic trim tool and pop out this little bucket right here and just toss that aside. Next, we're going to use our trim tool to get underneath our bezel here. I want to go ahead and lift up on this. Slowly work our way around. Work this piece up and away and just set that aside. Remove the 2 screws on either side of your shift lever. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, you can go ahead and do this. Open up your center console lid. Inside, you're going to find this little felt pad. Just pull that out and set it aside. On the inside, you're going to find 4 Phillips head screws. Go ahead and remove all 4 of those and set those screws aside. I want to go ahead and close our console lid. We want to go ahead and lift up on the back side of the console and lift up the whole unit. And we're going to try and pull this up and out. There's going to be a couple electrical harnesses attached to the bottom side of this here, so I want to be careful. And we're going to want to disconnect those as we do this job. Underneath the back side here, there'll be a connector. We're going to use our small pick here. I'm going to go in on the gray side and we're going to press in this little tab on the side. So I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on the harness while I push down on the side of this. Pop our harness out. On the side right over here, I'm going to go ahead and pop this little harness retainer out here. And let's move to the front. And on the front side, we have 2 of these 12-volt accessory outlets. We're going to do the same thing here. Press down on this little gray tab. Disconnect our harness. Repeat for the other side. Now we're going to go ahead and put the key in the ignition, and we're going to put the selector, the gear selector, into neutral. Let's go ahead and lift up our console. and pull our wires out from the console. And go ahead and put that console in the back seat and put our selector back in park and remove your key. So with our console removed, we want to go ahead and get to this connector right here. And there's a series of wires that are coming off this here, and it goes into a electrical tape wrapped harness here. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect this first, and then we'll continue to a process of replacing this harness. We're going to use our pick and go in on this side, and we're going to press in, release that locking tab. You can use a small pocket screwdriver as well. When you pop it off, this is the tab that you'll be applying pressure to go ahead and remove that. So we have our harness here. We're going to go ahead and start working on removing the electrical tape on this here. So you want to strip this back a bit. I'm going to try and get it all the way down to the base here. Okay. Now what we're looking at here, we have 4 wires. We have a black wire, a purple with a white stripe, a green with a white stripe, and a yellow wire. They are positioned in certain spots here. We're going to try and get that on the camera here. In order to replace this connector, we're going to have to cut these wires. The wires on our harness are all gray, so we want to go ahead and we're going to start by coming down about 4 inches, and we're going to cut one wire, probably our purple and white, which is on the bottom far left. We'll cut that one. We'll splice it into the new harness. Next will be our green and white, which is beside the purple. Our next one will be our black, which is on the bottom far right. And our last one is above the black. That is our yellow. We're going to do one at a time so we do not mix these up. If you cut off this harness and you start splicing things in, you can mess things up, and you'll have an issue or multiple issues at that point. So let's go ahead and continue. What we're going to do is use our existing OEM connector to identify the placement of our new wire harness. Our new harness has all gray wires on there, so they're not color matched. We're going to cut back probably about 2 inches here. We're going to use our connector to identify the placement of where they go and go ahead and connect the new harness. On our original harness, with the latching piece of our connector on the top, the yellow is on the top right, black is bottom right, green with white stripe is bottom middle, purple with white stripe is bottom left. We have our new harness here. Comes with 6 wires on it. The 2 top left ones, our top left and top middle, are not used. We simply snip those off. So now we have an upper right. We have our upper right, which will be our yellow. Bottom right is our black. Bottom middle is green. And our bottom left is purple. So let's go ahead and cut these wires here, give us a few inches to work with, and then we'll go ahead and splice them together and put our connectors on. So what we want to do is take our new harness here, take our wires. We did snip off a little bit excess. I want to go ahead and strip these back a little bit. All right, so now we have our wires here. They're stripped. I'm just going to twist these to keep the bundle of wires together so they don't fray out. Now we want to go ahead and do the same to the factory harness. These wires right here that we cut the connector off of, I want to go ahead and do the same for these here. Now back to our new harness. I'm going to take our connectors here, make sure these are twisted up, and this will slide in. Make sure that the wire itself goes inside that center section here. Go ahead and crimp this down on just that half. Let us pinch that wire in there. We're going to repeat for the other 3. You don't want to pinch the whole center section because your other wire is not installed in it yet. You want to give those wires a little tug, make sure that they're locked in there good. If your connector pops off, well, it's good that you caught it now. Now on our connector here, if we go ahead and match this up, just to double check where their clasp is on the top. Upper right is yellow. I'm going to go ahead and take our upper right harness here, from the harness, grab that connector, and take our yellow from our factory harness. Going to feed that into the other side of the connector here, and we're going to crimp it. Do the same thing, give it a little tug, make sure it's locked in. Ours is good. We're going to continue for the other 3. Install your last wire. Ours is our purple wire. Go ahead and feed that in and get that crimped. Okay, all 4 wires are connected. Now that we have all of our connections, we're going to go ahead and rewrap our wiring harness in electrical tape. Just going to do a basic spiral wrap, come all the way up. We're going to wrap up our connectors here. You can continue as far up as you want. I like to come up as far as I can. It just makes it nice and neat. Matches the factory harness. Come to a certain point, we're just going to go ahead and cut that, and we'll go ahead and finish putting this together. With our harness wired and wrapped, I'm going to go ahead and just tuck some of this wire underneath. And then we're going to go ahead and line up our connector. Go ahead and snap that into place. And with our new harness comes a green lock tab. Going to line this up. Push that in, and then just locks it into place. So we're going to bring our console back over. I want to pay attention to our 2 outlet connectors right here. They have these little plastic retainers. Don't forget to install those here when we pull our console back over, and then we'll plug in our connectors. Before we do that, put your key in the ignition, put the vehicle into neutral, make sure the vehicle is secured and not going to roll away. Bring your harness up. Reconnect your connector. Repeat for the other side. Let's go ahead and bring our console down and in. Reach down and pull up that unit right here. This has to go through to the back outlet. So let's go ahead and get that installed now. Let's go ahead and put this back in park. You can remove your ignition key. Go ahead and locate your outlet. Install the harness. Snap that in. Follow the harness back to your plastic retainer. Pop that into place. Now we can go ahead and lower the console down. Now the console itself has a couple pegs here. We want to go ahead and line up our screw holes. Lift up the console. Once that's centered, the console will line up with our mounting holes. Install these 2 screws here. Before we tighten those down, we're just going to open up our center console and just make sure that these 4 holes line up. Everything is lining up. So let's go ahead and get these 4 screws lined up and in there. We're going to get these started in here before we tighten them down. With all 6 screws started, we can go ahead and secure all of them down. Once those 4 are done, we can go ahead and drop in our little felt cover, and we can close our console lid. Go ahead and secure the 2 front screws. Once that's snug, we'll move over to the other one. Now let's install our trim cover here. So we'll just snap down into place. Now that that's in, go ahead and drop in our tray. Press that in.